God-forsaken mediocrity, although I have never discerned it. For me, the teaching profession verges on angelic perfection. But I can't get over the way in which what you do means so much to the young people in your charge, and the degree to which young souls are emancipated and liberated, particularly by the adventures in the world of literacy and of reading. And I hope you're proud of it. And I hope you don't let your detractors get to you, those idiotic Philistines who are willing to lacerate anything in sight, although they'll be happy to leave their children in your care, you can be sure. I don't want you to feel self-conscious or defensive at any moment in life, because the contributions you make are really formidable. When I was on that Swaziland visit, I went to a large primary school. I know exactly how many children there were in it. There were 1,234 children, because even I remember the 1, 2, 3, 4 progression. And they gathered together in a vast assembly, and I made a few obligatory remarks to the kids. And then I asked them, what do they want? What could I do for them? This was a school. I was talking to them about HIV and AIDS. And I said, would you like it if we could round up a bunch of soccer balls? Because these kids just love sports and love play. And there was a lot of cheering from the audience. And I said, or would it be better if we brought a huge number of shoes, because most of you don't have any shoes and you need them from time to time, particularly in the rainy season? And the cheers got louder. And I said to them, or would you like books? Would you like me to bring books? And you would not believe it. The entire assembly rose to its feet, cheering volubly. And I suddenly understood that there was no library, there were no books anywhere, and these kids so cherished reading. They really got a kick out of it, and they felt that it was a way of being presentable in the world and providing a degree of equality with others about whom they heard. And there was such voluminous noise that came from the school when I mentioned books. And it taught me the important lesson that if we could get all the kids into school, there is something called the Millennium Development Goals. They came into being in the year 2000 in the Millennium General Assembly of the United Nations. They were 8 goals to be achieved by the year 2015, the object of which is to overcome the disparity between those who have and those who have not, between the North and the South, between the privileged and the underprivileged. And one of those goals is to put every single child of eligible age into primary school. And believe it or not, there are between 77 million and 110 million children on this planet who should be in primary school and aren't in primary school, even though they are guaranteed that right by the Convention on the Rights of the Child, even though every single country on the face of the earth, save 2, has ratified the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Millions of children who can't get into school, and of course the prejudices are very strongly visited on the little girls, because they are always attended to last. They are always taken out of school to look after sick and dying parents. They are always turned to do the farming when no one else can, and you're struggling for household food security. They're always getting the water. They're always getting the wood. They're always doing the cooking. They're always looking after the family. The little girls struggle for an autonomous existence. But that there should be so many kids out of school, losing the opportunities which you engage in on a daily basis. So I loved it when I read through the material of the East York Scarborough group and saw these outreach activities in other countries, because it's not merely, however admirable, the work that is done in the local communities, and I wouldn't disparage it or demean it for a moment, but you can't imagine the contribution that is made when you reach out far afield. And I simply want to say what all of you understand, that everyone from the World Bank to the United Nations Development Program has said that the way in which you deal with poverty is to give young girls an education. the way in which you reduce maternal and child mortality is to give young girls an education. The way you overcome so much of the discrimination and injustice in this world, whether it's international sexual trafficking or female genital mutilation or honor killings or child brides or the absence of land rights or the absence of inheritance rights or the absence of economic autonomy or of political representation, and certainly the absence of laws against rape and sexual violence in country after country. There's a kind of contagion of sexual violence sweeping the world. The way you do that is to give young girls in particular an education which brings to them a kind of personal liberation, and the idea that you have that in your hands and that you can do it in the realm of literacy and reading and exchanging views and ideas and writing them down and performing them. This is what makes life real. This is what makes life come alive. If I could give that to every orphaned child I have seen in country after country, it would be the greatest single boon I could deliver. And I mention girls because I simply want to say to all of you, from the depths of my viscera, and I guess I've believed it all my life, but never more than in the last many years, the single most important struggle on this planet is the struggle for gender equality. There is no issue that's more important. You cannot continue to marginalize 52% of the world's population and ever expect to achieve a degree of social justice and equity. It's just not possible. And so to have an educational environment where from the earliest years you can develop respect from young boys towards young girls is a tremendous contribution that can be made. And to use literature as the vehicle is a kind of utopian opportunity. Thank you immensely for having me.